People think they understand intelligence. They picture perfect grades, sharp suits, and a color-coded life. But psychology suggests something far stranger. Some of the brightest minds look scattered, messy, distracted, even a little off to everyone else. If you've ever been called weird for the way your mind works, if you felt guilty for habits you can't quite switch off, there's a chance you're not broken at all. You might just be highly intelligent in a world that doesn't know how to read you. Psychology doesn't see intelligence only in test scores. It also shows up in the quiet, private rituals you do when no one is watching. The way you talk to yourself, the way you drift off in the middle of a conversation, the way your room looks like a storm, but your inner world is full of structure and ideas. These odd little habits can be the fingerprints of a mind that runs deeper and faster than average. Before we go deeper, pause for a moment. Have you ever apologized for these parts of you? For being too much in your head, too messy, or too quiet? If you feel like sharing, write about one of those moments in the comments. You might find out you're not the only one. One of the most misunderstood habits is talking to yourself, out loud, in whispers, in half sentences that trail off. On the outside, it can look strange, but some studies have found that when people verbalize instructions or thoughts, they stay more focused and solve problems more efficiently. Psychology suggests that this self-talk works like an external hard drive. You move cluttered thoughts out of your head and into sound so your mind can organize complex ideas, calm emotions, and plan your next move. Then there's the way you zone out. You stare at the wall, a page, a random spot on the floor, and people assume you're not paying attention. Yet research on mind wandering shows that frequent daydreamers often have more efficient brain networks and higher creative ability. Your mind leaves the boring moment not because it's weak, but because it has spare capacity. It starts running simulations, connecting memories, predicting futures. To others, you're gone. Inside, you're building whole worlds. Maybe your environment tells a similar story. Your desk is chaos. Your notes live in piles. Your room never stays tidy for long. You've tried to fix it, and maybe you've been shamed for it. But in experiments comparing messy and orderly rooms, people surrounded by mild clutter tended to come up with more original ideas. Some minds use external mess as a backdrop while they focus on internal order, patterns, concepts, and problems that feel far more urgent than neatly stacked papers. You might also come alive when the world goes quiet. While others are half asleep, you suddenly feel awake at midnight, or even later. Studies on sleep patterns suggest that people who prefer late hours often score higher on certain measures of reasoning. But beyond numbers, there's something else. The night removes noise, expectations, and small talk. For a complex mind, that silence can feel like oxygen. Another habit is your restless curiosity. You can't leave a question alone. You jump from philosophy to physics to obscure history, not to impress anyone, but because not knowing feels uncomfortable. Psychology links this kind of open-ended curiosity with higher cognitive ability and flexible thinking. You don't just collect facts. You build maps, mental models of how the world fits together, and that takes a lot of brain power. Then there's your tendency to overthink even simple choices. Picking a restaurant, sending a text, making a tiny decision can feel heavier than it should. People may call you indecisive, but deep down you know you're running simulations. What could go wrong? What pattern am I missing? How will this affect others? Research suggests that more analytical thinkers often scan for subtle risks and long-term consequences that others overlook. It's not that you can't decide. It's that your mind refuses to take easy shortcuts. Finally, you might prefer solitude over constant social activity. 2. Crowded rooms, endless small talk, surface-level conversations leave you drained. But one slow, honest talk with someone you trust can light you up for hours. Some studies hint that people with higher intelligence report feeling more content with less social stimulation. It's not that you dislike people. You just need space for reflection, learning, and creating, and shallow interaction can feel like noise drowning out your inner world. Here's the part most people miss. These 7 habits can feel like flaws when you're judged by a world that values speed, tidiness, and fitting in. You might carry quiet shame for talking to yourself, for drifting away, for caring more about ideas than appearances. But psychology and philosophy both point to the same truth. What feels like a curse in one environment can be a gift in another. A Stoic might say you can't control how others see your habits, only how you understand them. An existentialist might add that your task is not to be normal, but to live honestly with the mind you were given with all its intensity, its questions, its strange rhythms. So if you recognize yourself in these patterns, let this sink in. You are not a malfunctioning version of somebody else's life. You are a particular kind of mind, trying to survive in a world built for a different average. Understanding that is not arrogance. It's self-respect. If you'd like more slow, psychology-based videos that help you make sense of how your mind works, you can subscribe and stay around. The next thing you learn about yourself might be the very thing you've been blaming yourself for all along.